Inmates begin returning to the local jail. Good evening and thank you for joining us. The Thunder Bay District Jail has a temporary solution for the heating issues, which forced the evacuation of the facility last month.
50 inmates were transferred back to the jail yesterday from the Correctional Center on Highway 61. But the OPSU president for the Correctional Center says that's only made the overcrowding situation at their facility worse. Brendan Miller joins us in studio with more. Brendan?
Thanks, Riley. We spoke with Sean Bradshaw today. He says a diesel generator has been installed at the jail as a temporary measure. But because of the low number of inmates going back and the correctional staff now being split across 2 locations, he doesn't believe this is a viable solution.
We're just going to be that much more short-staffed. It's wildly irresponsible.
The district jail has found a short-term solution for the heating failure, which led to all 189 inmates being relocated in late November. 50 of those inmates have now moved back in. And although it seems like good news, OPSU Local 708 President Sean Bradshaw is not pleased on how that's impacting the Thunder Bay Correctional Center. He says they're still way over capacity. Meanwhile, 15 correctional officers were moved back to the jail with those 50 inmates.
So basically, we are spreading thin an already thin group of officers to staff that. 50 is not enough inmates to justify that staffing expenditure. So we need a bigger commitment from the government to open more space at the jail or just not open it at all.
Bradshaw says Wednesday's inmate transfer was done with little input from local authorities, which he says caused confusion and mismanagement of resources.
Local parties were not involved in that 50 inmate decision. That was made by people way above us. So through this whole process, consult with local parties has been very minimal. And it's just showing its effects right now. That moving 50 inmates out of this building, well, that's a nice gesture, is not actually sustainable. It's just a political checkbox. If it was 100 inmates, that would be beneficial. 50 is borderline on honestly not even really beneficial to us.
Bradshaw says the overall result is very unsafe conditions for the inmates and staff still working at the overloaded correctional center.
We hit 250 inmates, 247 inmates. It's a high male inmates. That's not including our female count, which would be about 40 as well. So we're not designed to house that at all. We're at best a 145 to 150 institution with every bed covered. We were at 247 inmates the other day.
Further, Bradshaw says the main floor at the jail, which is being opened, can hold up to 70 inmates without having more than 15 officers provided. With the heating fixed for now, he says it should be brought back to regular capacity. Brendan Miller, TBT News.
A lawsuit launched against the OPP and Thunder Bay Police by former Mayor Keith Hobbs, his wife, and another woman was discussed at the City Courthouse this week.
The statement of claim filed in 2020 is seeking $12.5 million in total damages for false arrest and negligent investigation. In January of 2020, Keith Hobbs, his wife Marissa, and their friend Mary Voss were all found not guilty of extortion after being charged in 2017. The trial involved allegations that they tried to coerce another person to purchase a house for Voss by threatening to hand over incriminating evidence to police. The judge, in rendering his verdict, said the lead OPP investigator had a single-minded direction and had made up his mind before looking at all the evidence. The Hobbses and Voss filed their lawsuits against the OPP, city police, and other defendants in September of 2020. This week, lawyers for the police forces attempted to have the lawsuit against their clients thrown out, arguing the claims do not meet a fundamental threshold, and noting that the lawsuit was filed 3 years after their arrests, which is beyond the 2-year statute of limitations. The lawyer for Hobbs disagreed, pointing out that the lawsuit was filed just 9 months after the not guilty verdict. The judge says he will now consider the arguments and is expected to render a decision by the end of January.
A Thunder Bay man convicted in a 2022 homicide case will have to wait until the new year to find out how much longer he'll remain behind bars.
38-year-old Daniel Blaze was originally charged with second-degree murder, but he later pleaded guilty to the lesser charge of manslaughter. Jonathan Wilson has more.
38-year-old Daniel Blaze and 46-year-old Josh Kakagamic were originally charged with second-degree murder in the death of 30-year-old Cody Bulmer at a home on Balmoral Street in May of 2022. The charge against Kakagamic was later dropped. The murder charge against Blaze was reduced when he pleaded guilty to the lesser charge of manslaughter. In court this week, the Crown said the victim suffered a prolonged, vicious beating that lasted 15 to 20 minutes and was planned and deliberate. The court heard Bulmer had stolen money and drugs from Blaze, and Blaze's lawyer claimed that Bulmer was walking and talking after the beating. An autopsy revealed that Bulmer suffered 79 separate injuries, which led to his death. Blaze told the judge he's not completely guilty of anything, but not completely innocent either, and that he wishes none of this happened. The Crown is asking for an 8-year sentence, minus 4 years for time served, while Blaze's lawyer is asking for a 5-year sentence, minus time served. The case will be back in court in January, where the judge will set a date for his sentencing decision. Jonathan Wilson, TBT News.
After a week of back-and-forth developments, the city of Thunder Bay is once again preparing to host evacuees from Saskatchewan. Approximately 200 community members are headed here due to issues with the First Nations water treatment plant. The evacuees from the James Bay coast were originally expected to arrive last weekend. However, that evacuation was halted when the water plant began working again. The plant was closely monitored following the halt of the investigation and was discovered to have once again failed. Evacuees are expected to start arriving in the city tomorrow morning. They're anticipated to stay approximately 2 weeks, and depending on the time required for repairs, that stay could extend into the new year.
While federal politics have been dominating the headlines this week, 2024 was also an eventful year for Ontario's leaders.
Provincial Liberal leader Bonnie Cromby spoke to CTV's Siobhan Morris to reflect back on the past 12 months.
People have lost the dream of owning their own home.
Looking back at 2024, the word that comes to mind for Bonnie Cromby.
Challenging. So for me personally, there was a large learning curve.
Year one on the job as Liberal leader. Her popularity as mayor of Mississauga hasn't carried over to provincial politics as she'd hoped.
I got to get used to this.
But she says this has been a rough year for Ontarians, too.
No tax relief, no access to family doctors, crumbling schools, and no homes to be built.
Despite those knocks, polling has shown Doug Ford's Progressive Conservatives likely to form a third majority government.
People aren't focused on election time, electioneering right now.
Cromby believes Ford is benefiting from relentless advertising campaigns, some using taxpayer money, and support for the federal Conservative leader. But she doesn't believe the unpopular Liberal Prime Minister is dragging her numbers down.
Not at all. I'm a different leader. I've distinguished myself in my positions from the Prime Minister. I've spoken out against the carbon tax.
With Justin Trudeau's leadership under attack, Cromby will only say the Prime Minister has a lot to think about.
But you're not one of the people publicly calling for him to go.
It is not my place to publicly call on the Prime Minister. It is his own decision.
She says the turmoil in Ottawa has left premiers jockeying to fill a leadership void in the face of potential tariffs under Donald Trump.
Here in Ontario, not only can the Premier not get the basics right for Ontarians, he's threatening punitive measures.
Like cutting off electricity, having the LCBO hold off buying American-made booze. It's a tumultuous time, complicated by the possibility of an early election next year.
I'll have the opportunity to share with them our platform and tell them that in 4 years, they'll have access to a family doctor, that their taxes will be cut, personal income taxes by $100 a month, and that we will remove the HST on their home heating and hydro bills.
But after 6 years relegated to third place, not enough seats for party status in the legislature.
What does the measure of success look like for you in this election? If, you know,
winning. We play to win. I want to make that change for Ontarians so badly. I want to give them that choice.
When that opportunity to choose may come is still unclear. Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
The holiday season has a special way of bringing out the best in all of us, a time when spirit and generosity shine brighter than ever.
And this year, organizers of the Christmas Cheer campaign have felt that warmth firsthand. The volunteers wrapped up their annual Christmas hamper handouts today, spreading hope to those in need. Riley Cohen reports.
Turkeys, apples, carrots, clothes, and toys donated from the Toys for Tots campaign. That's what you'll find in a Christmas Cheer hamper. While the number of participants is a bit lower this year, over 600 hampers were picked up on Wednesday, with another 700 expected by the end of day Thursday, bringing the total to around 1,300. Jill Thompson, the new chair of Thunder Bay Christmas Cheer, couldn't be more thrilled with the incredible turnout and outpour of support.
It's been amazing. The new folks to the team have really stepped up. There's been some changes to kind of how we've set things up, and we've had lots of positive feedback from both the clients and the volunteers. So it's gone well.
Speaking of volunteers, Anna Marie Butts has been giving her time to Christmas Cheer for many years and has nothing but praise for the experience. Over the past week, more than 500 community members have joined in, offering their support to the cause. The impact of their efforts is truly felt.
For many, it's what they have. Our times are tough right now. Cost of living, etc., is up. And for many, this is what they're going to have for Christmas. And people have been very generous, and so they're very happy to get the gifts for the children and for the food and the turkeys. And it's just really a blessing in people's lives to have this opportunity to receive this.
I think that for the most part, people are very, very grateful. We've had lots of people here with their children, so it's been nice to actually be able to interact with those folks and their children, and they're very grateful. There's been some tears and some very grateful people, so it really, makes it worthwhile.
With Christmas less than a week away, holiday cheer is certainly spreading through Thunder Bay. Thanks to the Christmas Cheer Fund, many families are set to have a Merry Christmas they never thought possible. Riley Cohen, TBT News.
The Salvation Army in Thunder Bay is now a little over 2/3 of the way to reaching their goal for their annual Christmas Kettle campaign, with less than 1 week to go. Grandview Mall is one of many locations to find the holiday kettles and their volunteers. Donations can be made in cash, or for the last 3 years, there's a tap option to donate $5, $10, or $20 to the charity. The executive director of the Salvation Army's Journey to Life Center, Gary Ferguson, says he's thrilled with the money raised so far.
We're not quite at our goal, but we're very impressed. At this point at the time of this interview, we're at $222,000. It just goes to show the charity of the good citizens in Thunder Bay and how they appreciate the work that we're doing and how they understand the need in the community at this time of the year. So again, we are so grateful for the volunteers, for the people that have donated to the Kettle campaign, because without that, we just couldn't do the work that we do 365 days a year.
All of the money raised will stay local to Thunder Bay and will go to a number of services provided by the Salvation Army. The Kettle campaign wraps up on Christmas Eve. Well, Fiona, sticking with the Christmas theme, it sure felt Christmassy out there. We've got the snow. It's a little bit chilly, especially that we're getting closer to the end of December. I had to bundle up in scarf and mitts today.
It was probably a smart move.
It was.
It definitely felt chilly this morning. The good news is the wind wasn't as blustery as it has been for the last day or so. Today, the winds were coming in from the southwest, but only about 2 to 8 kilometers per hour. That's nothing. We did have a lot of cloud and those periods of light snow. We started out with a low of -23, wind chills of -29, and that looks like a little bit of a typo there. We had a high of -12 wind chills. That should be -17 is where we topped out in the last few hours. So it definitely was a little cooler than normal for this time of year, but those cool temperatures are being felt by folks across the region. Now, right now, we've got a little bit of light snow in the Armstrong and Greenstone region, periods of snow for much of the day. Sault Ste. Marie had the overnight snow. It ended around 10 o'clock this morning, and then for the most part, it's been mostly cloudy with just a couple of brief periods of snow. But everywhere else, mostly cloudy or increasing clouds as the day progressed. Temperature-wise, the Sault definitely the mildest of the region, which is pretty normal for this time of year. And they are currently at -8, wind chills of -14. Then as you head up into Wawa, Marathon, we add a couple of degrees every few hundred kilometers, and the wind chills by the time you hit Greenstone are sitting at around -17. Armstrong, even cooler still. Up towards Red Lake and Pickle Lake, they're at -21 and wind chills of -24. West of Thunder Bay, Atikokan at -12, -16 in Greenstone. Fort Francis just -11, but wind chills there make it feel like -17. Here in the city of Thunder Bay tonight, we will see very similar temperatures to last night. -17 is the low, and wind chills will hit -22. We could see a little bit more light snow for the next couple of hours, but around midnight, it will start to clear out. Winds will continue to stay light, and things are looking actually very bright, very sunny for the end of the work week, which I guess we can say is the good news. The bad news is temperatures are going to start to plummet, but not until tomorrow night. Tomorrow will be very similar temperature-wise to what we saw today. It's Friday night that it's going to be frigid, and I will have more details on that later on. In
Well, we were talking about it yesterday. I don't mind the frigid temperatures around Christmas, but I think what I'm asking for Christmas is a wind chill that warms us up.
Oh,
yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I'm not a scientist, so I don't know the logistics around it. So, but you know, don't spoil it for me. Let's just
Hey, put that in your list for Santa.
Yeah.
It's going to be on the wish list. So yeah, the wind chill that warms us up, keeps us
Christmas
heated.
magic, anything can happen.
Thanks so much, Fiona. And after the break, we're going to turn back over to Ottawa as we have this week. Things continuing to be heated with the Liberal Party as Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is now expected to shuffle his cabinet tomorrow.
He told me that I was going to be the finance minister in his government until the next election.